Welcome back to Studio F, where I'm Fast Sons Willy B. We'll be reviewing Late Night with the Devil. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Take it away, Stinky.
Welcome back to Fast Sons with Willy B. I'm Willy B. I got Brennan back. Brennan, how we doing today?
Oh, glad to be here again.
Yeah, so we've got a fun movie today. We're gonna talk about Late Night with the Devil. A fun. It was listed as a horror comedy, but I'm just gonna go out and say this is more horror than anything. I guess it's got its comedic relief elements to it, but that's very underplayed.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the comedy side of things, kind of like in the opening, they had those very corny 70
Yeah,
talk
news
show,
segments. Yeah,
very corny jokes like that. So like that part, I guess you could list as comedy.
Yeah.
But other than that,
it's more on the
yeah, for sure.
horror element, but written and directed by the Cairns brothers, Cameron and Colin. I haven't really heard of anything from them, so
Me
this
either.
is this is
Yeah.
a first for me. The only standout name is David Desmalchin, and I know he's a name that it seems like is catching more traction, but a lot of people that have seen him and stuff thinks he should be in more stuff.
Yeah.
And I think this is once again another movie that proves that. To continue with the cast, he plays the main character. Our host, Jack Delroy, who hosts the late night show. Then Laura Gordon, she plays what is somewhat of a love interest, I guess, but she's the doctor of the girl that has, these conversations with the devil. And then Ingrid Torelli, she plays Lily, the girl. And the other big, not big name, but the other big role, I would say, is Gus, who is the co-host, and he is played by Rhys O'Terry. Let's hop right into the good, and there's a lot to break down in the good. Overall, the story. It's a great story. It was a really good movie. It was somewhat unique. It creates this aesthetic, this vibe, this... You feel like you're watching a 70s late
For
night
sure,
talk show.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think the aesthetic was probably one of my favorite things. Just I said earlier, like you're just watching it and like they kind of do like those cut scenes and breaks
Yeah.
like they would in TV, and like it just feels like you're at home.
Yeah.
Obviously a bigger screen, but at home, like watching it on your TV as if it's like a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah, the way this movie was shot, like you said, made it feel like it was you were watching this from home. And then when they go on break, I love how they cut to black and white. And you're watching the behind the scenes of this show, but there's no color, so it helps you differentiate
Definitely.
what's the show, what's real life.
Definitely.
And I thought that was a really cool touch by the Cairns brothers there. Great job. But yeah, the aesthetic alone was immaculate. I'm a big fan of 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, just the retro vibe. I mean, we went to Vintage Fest a few weeks ago. We both have our heart has a spot for the retro aesthetic. Yeah. And they captured it very well in this film. I feel like a lot of reviews I've been seeing of this film have said that that's, the highlight, the aesthetic, the vibe that's set, along with the tension they create with this story, and it makes your skin crawl. It's this Halloween special, and they start with this guy that can talk to the dead, and nobody believes him because the second guy is the skeptic, but the first guy ends up getting sick and passing away, and you're like, oh my god, what's going on? And the third guest is the doctor and the girl, and you see the scene where she gets possessed and the skeptic breaks down, and then all hell breaks loose. And very well paced film. An hour and 24 minutes run
So it's
time,
very,
I believe.
very quick.
Yeah. And
but-
they were able to do a lot though in that 84
Oh
minutes.
yeah, definitely, for sure. It didn't feel super slow, but like they crammed a lot in a very good way.
Yeah.
Like they did a very good job with a lot of time that they had, and I like that a lot. And kind of touching back on the story, like going into it, I was a little iffy on it. You said 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, but how many of like the devil possessed kind of like
they're very
they
hit or
all
miss.
seem kind of the same.
Yeah.
Like they're all just kind of blending together. Nothing really stands out when you're looking at that like subgenre, if you want to call it that. But this one, I like the concept and like you said, the story, just the twist that they kind of put on things.
Yeah.
You know, I really thought they did a good job.
And the marketing too was great. I mean, the trailer, and they're like, "Come witness one of the most historic nights in television." Like, it's a true story.
Yeah.
And you know, they marketed it very well. Watching the trailer, I was hooked. You know, I watched and I was like, "There's some things that could look really cheesy because you know you get into that possession realm, and it is super hit or miss. You know, you have the hits of The Conjuring, but even in the Conjuring universe, there's misses.
Oh, for sure.
So
Definitely.
there's the perfect example. But they didn't miss here. The acting was great. I think it was casted very well. Again, I think Des Malchin was the standout. Stole the show. Deserves to be in more things. I'm waiting for him to be in more things. He had that small role in Boogeyman, and he killed it in the limited time he had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of surprising because prior to that, I mean, he was what, in Suicide Squad? The second one came out after that. And I mean, I thought he got good reception in that also. So to see him kind of still taking these smaller roles, or
because this was basically a Shudder.
Yeah.
Supposed to be a Shudder original.
Yeah, even
but
though he had
traction.
the main role, it was still a smaller film.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think I'm on board with you in there. He should definitely deserve these bigger roles.
For sure. A little sidebar, we did get to see a couple more Shudder movie trailers before this one. And it looks like we're going to start diving into those because, I mean, we've done the first two of this year that have really stood out, which is...
I'm so glad this one's a lot better than that first one I had to do.
Not good. But touching back on the pacing, too, I did want to mention this. What was really cool, like, just to go along with how much this felt like a show, and as we're getting towards the end and people are like, let's run back the tape to see if the possession was real, he goes, well, I'm getting words from the producers that she's ready to sing and send us off, but I think we can schedule her another night. Like, they you know, they go along with it. It makes you truly feel like, okay, they have to be done in this hour and 24. Like, it's because it's live. You can't go over. Like, there's a show coming on after this. They did a really good job.
I love the whole idea of it. Like I said, you really felt like you were at home, sitting there on the TV, watching this live broadcast back in the 70s.
Yeah. You know, there was some, you know, eerie sounds, and the score wasn't anything like, it didn't stand out, but it fit because anytime there was sound, it went with whatever the scene was. There was one song, though, and it was played at the beginning and at the end in the credits. I don't even know what the song was. I probably should have figured that out because I loved it.
Yeah.
But I got to figure that out. I got to shout out to that song. I liked it a lot. The practical effects were good. You know, we get a throat slit with a necklace. We get worms coming out of the stomach, and all of that was done really well.
Yeah. I think my one complaint was the first guest when he threw up all over the guy's jacket, but then when he turned towards the camera, it just seemed very, like, I don't know, trying to squeeze it in the budget. It was very fake, but I mean, aside from that, like you said, the throat slit, like, that seemed real.
That was one of the worms in that were like the two that were like, ooh,
and like the worms seemed real too, stringing out of his neck and just out of his stomach. So I really think they did a good job. I mean, if I had to complain about one thing,
yeah, for sure. There's a lot of good with this. I liked, we already mentioned the breaks and how it went to black and white. There is some controversy in this film going on right now, and it's the transitional sliders. They were AI generated. I personally was a fan of them because they matched the aesthetic. I get why people are upset. It is upsetting. That could have been somebody's job. They could have been drawn. But they did fit in the story. I thought they helped move the story along, too, with we'll be right back type of, you know. I don't know. It's
a very tiny role if it was given to a real person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I personally don't see the issue.
Yeah.
I understand you're a little more into that.
Well, the big thing that's going on right now is people are like, where do we let it? If we let this slide, where does it stop?
That's true. So once it starts rolling, like so the people that are in that kind of space and like giving push to it, but like I'm on the outside and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
So for me thinking it's great, they might get some reception and only focus on that.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, where does it end? They can just keep building on.
My response to where does it end is this. If you watch the Academy Awards, one of the speeches, I can't think of it was the director producer for American Fiction. He got up there after they won their award, and he said, you know, we throw all this money at these big IPs. We throw $300 million at Marvel. Somebody took a chance and gave him $4 million. Take chance on smaller projects. Take chance on these smaller directors. If this movie had a bigger budget, maybe they don't have to use AI. That's another thing. That's another way to look at it. To play devil's advocate.
That's a very fair point. And I honestly didn't even think about like the budget of the film going into having to pay somebody to do that. Whereas, I mean, most AI stuff, if not everything's free now.
It's easy to.
It's very quick too.
It's easy to hire an artist if you have $286 million to work with.
Right. That's a very fair.
I'm not okaying AI by saying that. You just have to look at every. You know.
For sure.
Some of these guys are getting much bigger budgets.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, if that's the worst they do, like, all of the set design was great, the production, like everything. I mean, it looked like a real talk show studio. Yeah. The crowd, everything like that was done authentically, looked phenomenal. Yeah. I thought the set was fantastic. The camera obviously wasn't like that's the only thing that was, and everything else about this movie was so well done that I can't really not. I would go as far as to say that this is a modern day Halloween cult classic. It's not, you know. I want more Halloween movies, and we got one. It's weird that I'm saying that we got it, and it's March 21st. Right. But in 7 months, I'm watching this again, probably a couple times that month. It's such an easy watch. Sure. It's such an easy. This will be a watch every October.
Oh, I could agree with that.
This was thrown in with the Halloween franchise, Trick or Treat, you know, all of those.
There's a lot of movies that I like, and I mean, you could say they're 10 out of 10s, but rewatching something's very hard for me. Yeah. And so even some of those top movies, but this one definitely, for me, yes, for sure. High replay value, for sure.
And that replay value is big for me. I mean,
yeah,
a movie can be the best movie in the world, but it's hard to give something, you know, a super high score if it's like, I could never watch that again.
Right.
So they did a really good job at creating this 80-minute movie that I'll revisit several times throughout the rest of my life.
Still baffled on that.
But yeah, there's a lot of good with this film. Again, the acting was phenomenal. You know, we touched on Dismalchin and how we think he should get more roles. I do want to touch Ingrid Torelli. You always got to give a shout out when a kid acts as good as she did.
Yeah.
It's not easy playing possessed.
Right.
And she did that very well.
Even when, like, she wasn't possessed, like when she's just deadlocked with the camera, she's like, which camera do I look at? And shifts to this one, just
smiling.
It's very eerie and, like, although, like, she might even be possessed in that minute, but, like, obviously you see her get, like, truly possessed when it comes out. So I thought, like you said.
Yeah. All the guests were great. It's funny because after watching this, I'm like, man, what would a late night show with David Dismalchin and Terry be like? Like, they kind of played well together as co-hosts, you know? What would it be like? You know? Maybe SNL, you know? Like, maybe. No, it was cool to see, and I think everybody did really well in their role.
Definitely.
Like, I mean, they did so well, it felt like...
Even that, what was his name, Barry, clear out in the audience?
Yeah.
He killed it, too.
Yeah.
So I don't think there was a casting that they got wrong in this one.
No, not at all. Do you have anything that stands out that you'd like to add to the good? I mean, we've basically said everything about this movie.
I was going to say, front to back, I don't think... I mean, I think we covered everything. I don't have anything, like, I would say is bad.
Yeah.
So definitely most of my thoughts are...
in the good.
For sure.
We can hop over to the meh. Using AI, we can put in the meh. I think you give a job out there, play devil's advocate, you say maybe the budget wasn't there, but like, it does suck. It does suck because there are artists, there are creators out there that didn't get a job because of it, but it's...
Yeah, for sure. No, I definitely know what you mean. But
I mean, there's not much more to say on it. The only other Matt I really have is the ending at first. At first, after she becomes possessed completely and her head splits and the neck gets split and the guy's neck gets snapped and the guy gets burnt and this Malchin's character, our main character, Jack Leroy, or Delroy. Yeah, Jack Delroy, goes off stage. It turns into this almost like trippy, he's reliving all of these memories.
Yeah, like flashbacks to his prior sets, but he's self-aware in those times. It was very weird.
It lost me at first because I was like, okay, him shutting that door after she just killed those people could have been a really good ending.
Yeah.
But he's like going through this and I was like, I get what's going on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know if it fits. But then it ends with him holding his wife as she's dying. And she says, you know what you need to do because she's struggling. And so he stabs her and then it cuts back. And he stabbed Lily, the possessed girl. And I was like, okay, you got me back. That ending, like the overall ending, I would probably slide into the good. But the beginning of the ending, I put in the mad because I was like, you kind of lost me. But it did come around and get me. I'll give him
for
that.
Sure. I definitely agree. Like you said, like when he goes back into that time of, like he's self-aware in the past, it was just like completely threw me off. And the way they circled it around, like he drinks out of that chalice thing.
Yeah.
And like the whole ritualistic sense, which, you see ties through that from the beginning and the middle with when she gets possessed and he's talking about tall trees and stuff like that. So just they kind of made a full circle out of it. And then you kind of pick up on things and like why his wife is there dying. But when they flipped it and it was really Lily, that was a big turn. Like
it's hard to even put it in the math because of the flip.
Yeah.
It really is.
We got to be picky. Just a little bit.
It's hard. I guess your throw up would go here.
Right. But even that, like in the grand scheme of things, but even for the ending to be that good, it had to give you that kind of what's going on here. Not a fan, just to pull you back in towards the end.
There's a lot of studios on this project.
There was. Okay, so
at first I thought it was a joke.
Yeah. So the people, I think in the rest of the row next to me were all commenting on the same thing.
Yeah.
Because you said it and I wasn't even thinking. And then I think back to
I heard a chuckle.
Yeah. And so then the next one comes and then another one. And the people next to me kind of start chuckling and laughing. And I think it was all on the same thing. There was.
Because it was Shudder, CFI, Sony, Spooky Pictures, something else pictures, something studios, and I was like
random things.
It was then it was Synatic or something. It was crazy. I was like, are these for the TV show maybe? And then it was this news introduction that was this whole background on Delroy, and I was like, okay, those were just all
leading
of the
up to
production and studios that had a hand in this, I guess.
I didn't even think about it until you pointed it out, but then once you pointed it out, I realized how many had already been shown, and then 4 more after that. It was insane. That was funny.
But I mean, neither of us have bad. There was nothing bad about this movie.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. What a movie.
Yeah.
So we can hop over to our final thoughts and ratings. Brennan loves rating things. He loves rating movies. Brennan, what you got for us on your final thoughts, and what are you giving this out of 10?
Whew. I'm struggling. You threw a curveball at me right before this with comparing it to another movie.
Yeah.
I was originally between an 8 and an 8.5. Mm-hmm. But I think you've persuaded me to give it an 8.5.
Give it an 8.5? Okay.
Yes.
Land on it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I know so. I'm confident in that.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with that. I mean, like we covered, there's no bad.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm not a rating guy. You know that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's hard to judge versus movie. How are you comparing them head to head? But I don't know. I think an 8.5 is comfortable in the first watch. Like we said, it has replay value. So I'm sure after the second watch, it'll fluctuate after that.
For sure.
But for now, an 8.5.
For me, I was between 8.5 and 9, leaving the theater. I'm gonna land on a 9. I I guess I'll say I take a point off of the AI. Like, because there really isn't anything bad with this. You do got to penalize it at the end of the day for that. I get that as somebody that wants to make movies. I'm not going to be nearly as harsh as some of the reviews I've seen. You know, we're both Letterboxd guys. I'm definitely more into Letterboxd.
So mine's more just logging.
Use it more as like, okay, this is like, a reminder that I've seen that. I use it as like,
I say I don't even.
I'm an advocate for it.
I don't even log rewatches.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it once. I've known that I can go back and be like, oh,
I'm that guy that's giving them free marketing. I'm like, you have Letterboxd and you like movies? Here, get signed. Like, that's me. Some of these reviews on Letterboxd, there's people giving it half a star. You use AI, I can't give you more than half a star.
Half a star just for AI.
Yeah. And I'm like, I get it sucks. And one said, if you want to make movies and you give this more than half a star, you have no respect for yourself. I'm like, no, that's not true.
For as little as they did with the AI.
That's what I'm saying.
That's kind of ridiculous.
So,
but like I said, I'm just on the outside.
I'll knock a point off for it, but I'm not giving this a 1 out of 10 because they used 35 seconds of
pictures.
AI. Yeah.
For pictures. Yeah. Not even like anything.
Yeah.
Anything big.
So I'll go 9 out of 10 on this one. Phenomenal film. I mean, like you said, we both saw. I saw the tweet that said 100% Rotten Tomatoes score through 50-something reviews, which through 50 reviews, that's a kind of a feat because, usually when you see somebody tweet about 100%, there's 3 reviews, and they're like, well, 3 people liked it. Great.
So that's what usually gets me 100% before it's really, like, officially released.
Yeah.
And that just throws me off.
So, yeah. I saw that on Twitter, though, after 50 reviews, and I was like, this is definitely... I was going to check this out anyways, but this is making me more excited.
Yeah.
And... sometimes when you see that, I'm pretty good about not boosting my expectations because at the end of the day, Rotten Tomatoes is an average score of all these scores, and I obviously have my own opinion.
Right.
But when I saw that, I was like, I'm more excited for this film because I don't know. When I saw the trailer, it looked cool, the vibe was cool, the TV concept was cool, but like, I didn't know what to expect, and so I guess that kind of set a standard to it. Like, okay, this should be good. And I think it was.
It very well was. I think the whole possession kind of horror thing threw me off more than just 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And just because you never know what you get with those.
I mean, you get them all the time, too. Yeah. Like, Immaculate. It's, I guess, more of a cult nun movie that's coming.
But it's all in that realm of biblical,
Christian,
heaven, hell, devil.
We get all the Conjuring universe movies coming out. The first Omen's coming out in a few weeks. Last year we had the Pope's Exorcist and Exorcist Believer. Yep. So it's all the time.
All the time.
And it's definitely overdone. I will say, while we're in final thoughts, a little shout out to the Warrens there. When, when the Skeptic came out, he was like, here's me ghost hunting at Amityville. Yeah. I invited the Ed and Lorraine Warren, but they're a little skittish or something like that. And I was like, oh, man.
Digging at him, but he did that the whole movie. Yeah. So.
But no, that was cool. But I know what you mean. It is, I mean, since our childhood, I feel like it's just all the time. Like, there were movies, The Omen came out early and The Exorcist came out early, but almost since we've gotten like those Paranormal Activities, I just feel like Paranormal Possession movies.
Because then they ran it up to like 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah, I feel like since then, Paranormal and Possession movies have just have gone through the roof. For sure. Hollywood took it and ran.
Yeah, definitely.
It's nice to see a fresh twist on it, though, and see it done well.
Yeah, very well, I think.
That'll do it for Late Night with the Devil. Brennan, thank you for coming on.
Appreciate you having me.
My Shudder original guys, which are becoming at this point. So
hey, based off of some of those previews,
there's
to be that guy.
Well, we got a slasher coming, and then a Nicolas Cage, almost Quiet Place,
apocalyptic
feeling.
Weird,
they come out at night type of thing.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look into when those two are coming out. I believe one was April 12th, and one might have been May, but we'll look into it and we'll make sure that we get the viewers more Shudder originals.
Oh. I'm loving it.
We have a membership.
For life.
For life. But we thank you all for watching, of course. If you like what you're watching, check out some of these other videos and hit the subscribe button. Social links are down in the description below, so follow if you want to and if you can. And again, thank you for watching, and we will talk to you all soon. Peace.